Week 3 of May was on the lighter side from a recommendation standpoint, though after the sheer volume of the last episodes, this was a welcome change of pace. I really enjoyed this week's selection, and we'll get right into those, but first, a reminder that I haven't seen every single match to have taken place, and the ones I do choose to talk about are all based on my personal enjoyment and nothing else. A slight spoiler warning, as I will be talking about match finishes here too. After watching 80 matches spanning 10 promotions, here are a few of my favorites from the third week of May. The hat trick of standout Gunther TV matches in the month concludes with yet another instance where the New Day Imperium combination delivers. Kofi Kingston has all the motivation to take the fight to the ring general, between a semi-final at stake as well as avenging his tag team partner. He wastes little time to do so. I appreciate how they handled this, as Gunther heads to the ring with a pompous smirk on his face. Kofi flies out of the gate and rushes him with multiple dives before the bell rings. More importantly, he goes after Gunther's right knee, a retaliatory tactic in response to the Woods and Sheamus matches in previous weeks. Gunther is simply too good not to answer, and as Kofi goes to the well with one more dive, the ring general brings him right back down to earth. His application of the furniture at ringside is particularly mean here, heading into the first commercial break. Things settle upon returning from commercials, though the damage sustained early on provides a slight twist in comparison to previous matches in Gunther's tournament. He is still able to be this dominant force, though any strength generated from his legs comes with a cost. This gives Kofi just enough breathing room to compete, even after extensive work to his back from his opponent. Gunther being at a disadvantage combined with Kingston's driven performance elevates the match with an overlapping sense of urgency. In this tournament, Gunther's made these adjustments on the fly when they've mattered most, and here is no different. In the finish, he shifts a powerbomb near fall right into a Boston Crab, and the coordination of both men to pull this off so seamlessly was very impressive. The consistent tone and focus of this match makes it one of the finest WWE television efforts in 2024 thus far, and while it's easy to place it with the rest of Gunther's run in the tournament, Kofi deserves just as much praise for his contributions here as well. Prestige held their Alive or Just Breathing show on the 16th, and amidst the Killswitch Engage inspired imagery was a matchup I've been looking forward to seeing since the graphic dropped. Shelley met Timothy Thatcher in the type of match you'd expect them to have, and if that's your thing, I think you get quite a lot out of this. Shelley is leaning heel here, and makes that distinction early with his insistence on playing mind games with Thatcher, specifically by staying out of bounds in a cynical way. Thatcher has no problem going after him regardless, and initiates the trading of arm work when back onto the mat. Double limb work matches can be ambitious to a fault at times, but two wrestlers of this caliber ensure that it doesn't stray from the ideas at play. Shelley eventually begins to go after Thatcher's vertical base, and this change in strategy works better for him as the match goes on. Unfortunately for him, his opponent seems to have an answer for everything he throws at him, reversing holds into pinning combinations and vice versa, which plays directly into the finish. To get to that point, you have 15 minutes of grappling done at an extremely high level with little to no downtime. Everything is fluid, though feels earned, and is carried with a bitterness shared between the two. While most of the action is mat-based, Shelley does rely on his explosiveness at times to create openings which provide some variation between skirmishes. The majority though is held on the ground as the two wear each other down. If I remember correctly, neither wrestler actually leaves the ring at any point, which is a refreshing touch. Timothy Thatcher brings a whole lot to this match in his own right, in addition to those reversals I mentioned prior. There's a lot of moving parts to his grappling game, and I encourage those who dismiss his work as boring to take another look. His wrestling acumen, as well as his expressiveness in the ring, complement the intensity of the match itself. As Shelley attempts to put the match away with a shell shock, Thatcher traps the arm and is able to bring him to ground for a submission victory with a Fujiwara armbar. In contrast to Shelley, Thatcher's game plan never changed. It paid off by simply staying the course and relying on his skill. I really like this match, and I think it's gone under the radar compared to some more celebrated indie matches this year. I think if you're looking for something more grounded that doesn't sacrifice intensity, You might enjoy this as much as I did. As uneven of a year that Stardom has had, they've had the tendency to get it right with their guest appearances. May 18th's Flashing Champions event was another example of this in my opinion, acting as both a preview tag to Mayu Iwatani's next title defense against Tsukasa Fujimoto, as well as a stop on Arisa Nakajima's retirement tour. The reunited best friends invaded the World Wonder Ring to take on Mayu and the swiftly improving Hanan. The main selling point of this match is apparent a few minutes into a best friends control segment. Hanan throws a pretty weak looking forearm, only for Arisa Nakajima to correct her first hand with a sickening shot. I think Nakajima's contributions to this match are the most significant. As best friends excel in this role to bully the Stars pairing, her cruelty and ferocity in particular adds to these sequences greatly. Hanan is great on the receiving end of this beatdown, and Mayu does all she can to hold this together by dishing out her own high-impact offense. She stands her ground for a while, though inevitably things come crashing down at the hands of best friends. Mayu's knack to bump like crazy complements this shift in momentum. One of my favorite instances is where Mayu breaks up a submission with a round kick, only for Tsukamoto to stand up unfazed and proceed to wreck both of her opponents in response. There is a bit of an awkward lull within the 20-minute runtime, and knowing that Mayu left us with a black eye, she may have needed some time to get her bearings. It's very apparent on rewatch, though it doesn't take me out of the match entirely. This leads to Hanan being left in the ring for the remainder of the match, and Nakajima is actually at her most giving here to draw out some fire. It wouldn't be enough from the youngster, as Tsukasa Fujimoto would put this away with a Taio-chan bomb. The invading veterans come in and deliver an old-fashioned ass-kicking to the disdain of the Yokohama Budokan, and I had a lot of fun seeing it unfold. A match that I nearly missed entirely before recording that I discovered thanks to the Violent People Radio podcast. I was only introduced to El Hijo del Fishman's work this year, and any singles match I can find has turned into appointment viewing. You're in for violence, and this Junior de Junior title match from IWRG did not disappoint in that regard. Admittedly, I haven't seen their match from the week prior, so I don't have the full context in regards to this one, though in a vacuum, there's a whole lot to like in my opinion. I do know that these matches are rooted in response to Fishman defeating Mascara Segrada's son in brutal fashion back in April. Segrada wastes no time to initiate this brawl by hitting a tope immediately and ripping at Fishman's mask, drawing blood. A good chunk of the match stays out on the floor as the two fight around the arena. A common thread that I particularly enjoyed was when the two would trade Death Valley drivers over the barricade and into the ringside seats. It's one of the many involvements of those Corona branded chairs, in addition to the two throwing them at each other's heads or Fishman simply piling them on top of Segrada at one point. Later into the match, Segrada's mask is torn, and as things progress, I can't even tell whose blood is on his gear. He does make a valiant effort, including a sick balcony dive to shift the momentum. The final third sees the two settling things between the ropes, between some nasty looking submissions and high impact moves. It's here though where my main criticism towards the match lies. Segrada hits multiple destroyers amidst the near falls, and feels a little inconsistent with all the mayhem that transpired before it. In the grand scheme of things, it's a nitpick. You're here for the psycho violence, and this match brings it in spades. It's best to just seek this out and enjoy the chaos. Speaking of, the full show is available for free on the IWRG TV YouTube channel, and you can find this in the main event. And before I go, here are some honorable mentions. El Desperado vs Kosei Fujita from New Japan, May 13th. Shayna Baszler vs Io Sky from WWE, May 13th. And last but not least, Los Divinos Laguneros vs Stuka Jr. and Hijo de Stuka Jr. from CMLL, May 17th. And that is it from me. If you got this far into the video, thank you so much for your time and for hearing what I had to say. Be sure to do all the obligatory YouTube stuff by liking and subscribing, and you can find me on socials at OuterStevon as I'm getting through my watch list. In an effort to catch up, I'll be consolidating the rest of May into one episode before tackling June, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.